flow. Eric and Mark are on the mic, ready for the show.
Welcome to another Seesaw Scenario with Eric and Mark Playground Rules podcast. Today's scenario is called Bordering Excellence. For the first 15 years of my professional life, I was chasing excellence, but over these last 5 years, I've had a growing sense that I've been right on the cusp of it, bordering it, but not fully stepping into it. There's a club-level volleyball team I've been following for the past couple of seasons. They're talented, clearly capable of winning, but every game there are small, avoidable mistakes that end up costing them the game. And as I watched that, a thought hit me. What are the small mistakes I'm making that are costing me my game? To the listener, what are the small mistakes you're making that are costing you your game? Because it's easy to see it in others. It's hard to see it in ourselves. Now, to be fair, that team has also been on the wrong side of some bad calls, questionable officiating. It changes momentum and sometimes even outcomes. But that raised another question for me. What bad calls am I dealing with in my own pursuit for excellence? What external factors, misjudgments, misunderstandings, or even unfair circumstances am I allowing to affect my performance as I compete on the playground at the high level I aspire to? So this scenario isn't just about the volleyball team. It's about that space we live in when we're close, really close to excellence, but still being held back by the small things we overlook and the external factors we don't always control. How say you, Mark?
Eric, so this topic is very relatable. This is something that I think many of us have probably encountered at some point, like on the cusp of something great, but just falling short. What do we need to do to get that to that extra level on a professional level, on a personal level? Maybe it's even a hobby that we're doing or whatever. Let's take stock of what got us here, I think, is to start with. If it's a sporting thing or maybe some kind of skill that we've mastered, right? We've obviously done a lot of right things to get to this point, right? So if it's a sports team, it's like we're a great team, but we've been, we've been there, towards the end, but we have not had enough, or we fell just short of winning a championship. What are the reasons there? Or let's say, for example, for somebody who's a musician, they wanted to make it on the big stage, right, and playing in huge arenas, and they're in the local club scene, or like doing tours of like smaller venues, but they can't seem to break that ceiling. What do they need to do? At that point, again, we've made it this far. Very important to look at this from a positive lens, because that playground situation that we have is cast, again, as we've been saying all along, it casts a doubt on everything we do. It makes us feel like what we are isn't good enough, right? And so, we must have done something wrong somewhere along the way because we haven't won the championship yet. We haven't achieved that excellence. Let's not think about it that way, okay? This is not necessarily a self-help angle or whatever, but at the same time, it's more just like, well, since we have made it this far, maybe we just need to do more of the same, just a little bit better, right? So, case in point, for example, if we say like in a professional endeavor, like for example, somebody's saying, you know what, I'm really popular in the local club scene and everything, but I want to make it onto the big stage, like that example we talked about. They say, you know what, how do I go ahead and break through that ceiling? Maybe you go ahead and you do kind of like an outside the box thing. It's like, well, I'm mostly an original artist, but wait a minute, you know what? Maybe it'd be a good idea to do a remake of a song, famous song by an artist, and put my own little spin on it. Or maybe a nice little AI or kind of meme video or something if somebody wants to do that. Or maybe they go ahead and they meet somebody like from the other bands, that they're touring with. Maybe they're opening for somebody. And maybe they, instead of just going ahead and on tour, going ahead and checking back into the hotel at the end of the rehearsal or whatever, make an acquaintance with the band that with the band that you're opening with. Just, hey guys, what's going on? I love what you're doing, that kind of thing. And maybe they'll have you step in for a collaboration, right? At that point, they say, well, wait a minute, here we have such and such person from such and such band, special guest, round of applause, standing ovation, all that stuff. It's kind of like people are very, very open. If they already like a group to begin with, or they like a team to begin with, by the time you add another member, it's kind of like you're already being welcomed to a certain degree by association. There's any number of ways to go about this. I think that a lot of us, including myself, are still looking for some of the answers, but I really feel like a little bit more of something. Maybe just that one more connection in a professional endeavor. Maybe just that one little, creative nugget, or that could get some presence online. For an excellence. Maybe with the sports team, it's like, hey, just keep on doing what we're doing, but let's play a little bit more conservatively. Let's limit our turnovers, right? If we're a basketball team or a hockey team or whatever, let's just go ahead and try to play a little bit of, do the same thing that we normally do, just play a little bit safer ball than we normally would. It's just at this point, it's tweaks. You're fine-tuning something that's awesome, already been good, to get it to championship level. Well, sometimes people feel the need to say, oh, wow, it's time to dismantle the whole thing. We've been, on the cusp of this for several years and something is just not working. They kind of want to throw in the towel. No, I don't think that's the time. I think that, honestly, if you've made it this far, you just need some tweaks. Maybe get another set of eyes to look at it. Maybe make another extra acquaintance. But be open to subtle changes. They're going to push you over the top, and make sure to keep it in a positive lens. Because if you keep it in the lens of, hey, what do we need to do to get to that next level? You'll be feeling good about what you're doing. It's like, oh, we're right there, we're right on the cusp, but like you said. But if we fall a little bit short, it's like, oh, well, we made it to the final, but we choked again. And yeah, well, typical failure kind of thing. Here we go again. And this time the failure even hurts more because we made it to the final this time. And it's like we were closer, but then, then our hearts were broken because we were so close and we didn't get the prize at the end. It's very easy to go ahead and turn on yourself or on your team and start thinking, oh man, we botched this, we messed this up. When it comes to sports, try to be so incredibly awesome and do it so well that don't leave it in the call of the referee. If you're tied 1-1 in a hockey game or a soccer game or something, or 98-98 with 30 seconds left in a game, I know sometimes it's out of your control. You do not want to leave it up to the official's discretion. It's human error. Things will happen there. Do as much as you can. Be open to suggestions from others, and keep things in a positive lens, because again, you have made it this far. You don't need to overhaul what you're doing. You need to tweak. You just need to tweak and just keep at it. Keep on believing in yourself. Don't be afraid to solicit a support group or solicit some feedback. And you just got to tell yourself, I've got this. A wise person once said, success comes to those foolish enough to believe that it's possible. That needs to be you. Stop doubting. The playground has made us doubt. Try to block that doubt out. Try to block out the doubt. Block out the doubt. And just hone in on what you're doing and just make it, 1 or 2 or 3 degrees or 1 or 2 or 3% even more awesome than it has been. And eventually you're going to come around. Eventually you're going to do it. I can't tell you how many times in sports I've seen a team make it to the semifinal or lose in the championship a couple years before they actually won the championship. It's okay. You're almost there. You made it this far. Good luck with everything.